Welcome to Wealth Untethered, your guide to the principles and mindset of a genuinely wealthy life. This podcast explores universal laws, principles, and strategies that lead to wealth and fulfillment. We delve into topics like investment, cash flow, business, estate and legacy planning, longevity, health, science, and more. All in an attempt to examine and challenge your mindset about what's possible for you. To learn more about Wealth Untethered, visit our website, wealthuntethered.com. Remember, our insights are not direct financial advice, so consult with your financial team before making any decisions based on the topics discussed in this show. Michael, some days today. You love that saying.
I love it. I was thinking that right before you were saying that too. I'm looking at the paper. I'm going, this is so good.
Yeah. Again, attachment, tethering. It's like someday I'll do this. Someday I'll do this. Someday I'll do this. Right. I think that, internally we're able to like process life in a sense and say, okay, here's my life circumstances. Okay. I want to be happier. I want to make progress. It's like built in our DNA. If I had that, well, someday I'm going to have that. Someday I'm going to do this, right? I look at, the future doesn't exist. The past is gone. What it really exists is right now, right? So figuring out ways to live an intentional life is really what creates unlimited wealth. So that's what the show is about, Wealth Untethered. Today our topic is going to be a kind of a diagnostic tool that was designed in order for you to understand ways in which you can be even more wealthy today. So we're going to go through the components of that tool. And that is a tool, it's a diagnostic that we are not only going to use as a framework for the content of this show, it is also going to be a tool for you to use on your own in order to discover what is the obstacle, what is in your way, and what are the things that you can do to understand the opportunity and to find wealth in the moment, but also make progress toward infinite milestones along your journey in life.
Yeah, 100%. I have
tall order. That's a very tall order.
It is, and I'm excited for this episode because, Patrick, I've lived. I'll just say it, but I've lived so much of my life in the pain of the past, and I've tethered myself to the pain of the past. And the fear and the doubt and the worry and the shame that I've felt as a result of that. So today, like this, some days today, you asked me why you're so excited about that. Why? And I just living in the present moment and being fulfilled and not tethered to that past stuff. There's things that I want to be tethered to that are working, that provide a foundational peace and abundance in my life, and I'll continue to tether to that. But when it comes to wealth creation, untethered, man, and not living in the past, living in the present moment, and just having that abundance mindset is just so fulfilling.
So a thing that I've discovered, I would say in the last couple of years, is there's an overwhelming amount of information out there. There's way more than we can ever consume in a lifetime. I think there's like statistics that there's more information created in a day on the internet than ever can be consumed in like 40 lifetimes or something like that. Some crazy statistic. So the thing is, we're drowning in information, right? And then it's the whole saying that we're starving for wisdom. So I look at, the necessity of frameworks, the necessity of tools that really allow you to understand information and how it applies to you. And that's why we feel so strongly about this tool, is because health is an easy example. Right? There are probably hundreds of thousands of books on being healthy. There's probably tons of podcasts. There's YouTube channels, but it doesn't mean that because the information exists that people are just going to suddenly become healthy, right? It's like taking all that information and making it relevant to you and then figuring out the opportunities specific to you to become healthier. And it's not to go from like 100 pounds overweight to ripped and ready for some bodybuilding competition in a month. Right? It's like, what's the next milestone for you, right? The next milestone might be reducing your blood sugar by this amount. And that might be just getting 5,000 steps a day instead of 4,000 steps a day. So again, the idea is like, how do you take what the challenge is in your life, okay, and take all the information, all the principles, the strategies, that everything that's out there, and make it real for your life right now, so that you have clarity on what the next step is for you.
Exactly. That was what I was just thinking. At the end of this episode, my goal and target for you is, what is the next step? What's one thing that you can do moving forward? That's my target, Patrick, for us to get to in this episode for our listeners.
So let's dive in. Let's dive into the tool. In large part, this Infinity Wealth tool has come from a way in which you're able to assess things in your own life, right? And so the starting place is what? It's the idea, it's the concept of what. So how do you, in that first step of the Infinite Wealth tool, okay, what is what? Like, what
Yeah,
is that step?
it's important to identify, and why we came up with what happened. What are we talking about? What is the story? What's the thought process? What experience happened? What was the mindset? What am I telling myself? Like, what happened? What happened? And then why, the next
So
step.
that's step two, is why.
Yep. Step one, what? Identify what happened. What is the story? What's the mindset? And get clear about it. Write it down, pen and paper, write it down, type it out. And then why? Why was that relevant? Why are you talking about it? Like, why even talk about that story to begin with? So, step one, what? Step two, why? Step three, lesson. What is the lesson that you're learning from what happened and why it was relevant in your own life? What is the lesson that you can extract from that in your own life? And then to take it a step further, to share with other people. And then step four, apply. How do you apply that into your own life? What happened? Why was it relevant? What's the lesson you can extract from it? And how do you apply that in your own life?
So I think getting this information is this, I would say it's the first half of the diagnostic. What, why, lesson, apply. So using this tool to really gain clarity over what's going on and what's the opportunity. The next step I think is vital, which is mindset. Because when you start to really unpack what obstacle is in your way, right? What is something that's challenging? What's not working? Okay. We tend to look to outside circumstances as the cause. Okay. This comes down to, I mean, that is a mindset, but the mindset that we have discovered that creates patterns of growth and continual success is taking personal responsibility. It's not looking at something wrong with you. You made a mistake. Okay. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. We're all fallible as human beings, period. Okay. But taking personal responsibility is one of the best starting places, because there's so many excuses that we can, it's my DNA, right? It's because I'm overweight, I have big bones because of family history or whatever. You can also look at I grew up in these circumstances and was mistreated, and therefore that's why I am the way that I am. I get all that. I think we all have reasons. There's all things that we can point to that can make sense of our current state and our current mindset. But the idea of taking personal responsibility is empowering, because you have a saying that I love, right? That you are the problem, but you're also the solution, right? That's another thing that makes us incredible beings, right? Is that we can think, we can reason, we can ration, we're creative, right? But I think the creative process, right, which is unique to us, starts with taking responsibility for our life, taking responsibility for our circumstances. And I'm sure there's so many examples of other people, other circumstances causing what's going on. There's an influence there. At the same time, it's like you can't do anything about that. You can do something about yourself. You can influence yourself. So that's the big piece of mindset. So again, what, why, lesson, apply, then mindset. Now the next step, and we're almost done, principles.
Yeah, principles. What are you clear in your life? Like, what's guiding you? What are the principles at play? Like, it's laws, not theories. And probably the easiest way for me to think about it and to have you think about it is like gravity. And I'm sure glad that I understand it, because if I didn't, it could be extremely painful of understanding the law of gravity. It's a principle that's unmovable and unshakable. It's like it's set in stone. It's
Mhm.
what is. It's what is. And so gaining clarity around the principles at play and then clarity in your own life.
So that's huge because when you look at something that's not working, it's typically because again, if you're taking personal responsibility for it, you
Violated.
violated a principle, right? You've done something against natural law. You're trying to fight gravity, right? So there are natural laws, right, that lead to success, natural principles. So it's identifying which principles apply to this specific situation. And when you know the principle, then you can use the law of gravity instead of trying to fight it.
That's exactly right. So again, all of this infinity wealth tool that Patrick and I have created is there to assist you to not live in the past, but to gain experience from the past and leverage that in the present moment to be able to create moving forward.
And then we come full circle, right? So the symbol of the podcast is an infinity sign, right? And in the center, right, it represents the present moment. It represents life being right now. It's living wealthy right now. And we have all the reasons to live wealthy right now, regardless of circumstances, regardless of what happens to us, regardless of what we have or don't have. Okay, we can live that right now, but it also is that center point of growth. This is another, I would say, just aspect of life that we're driven by, which is continually growing. What's amazing about human nature, whether it's collective or individual, like we have infinite capacity to gain knowledge. There are infinite resources in the universe, and people are constantly discovering, innovating, creating. You have that creativity inside of you. When you frame all of these different steps as part of the infinity wealth tool, it puts you in the position to use just an amazing gift that we have as human
Mm,
beings, which is creation,
mm.
right? Which is creativity and figuring out problems. And I like to look at problems differently than I did before. I look at problems not as something being wrong. I look at it as like a missing puzzle piece, right? We have a puzzle, an infinite puzzle, right, for an amazing life, right? And who knows what that means because it's going to just continue to change over the course of time. There's a missing puzzle piece. What can you discover as that missing puzzle piece based on the information that you're plotting out here on the Infinity Wealth tool?
Yeah, 100%. So think of the infinity sign and think about over here on the right side of the infinity sign, which is what, why, lesson, apply. What happened? Why was it relevant? What's the lesson from that? And how do you apply that in your life? Then you come over here on the left side of the infinity sign and you start identifying the mindset around that story, the what, why, lesson, apply. And then what are the principles at play around all of that? Gain clarity on that. And the next stage on that on this other side was mindset, principles, and then strategies. And Patrick, how would you define strategies?
Strategies are processes, they're frameworks, it's something that has been discovered, okay, as a way to get a better output. So I'll go back to the health analogy, right? So there's specific things that you can do. Wake up at this time, burn these many calories doing these exercises, eat this type of, food. I mean, whatever. That's a strategy, it's a process. There's proven frameworks, right, to live healthier. Okay? The same thing applies to wealth. Same thing applies to relationships. Same thing applies. I mean, there's applications of frameworks, of processes. We're calling them strategies, right? So strategies is that piece where it allows you to follow an existing provable framework, okay, that will allow you to get a better result, as opposed to like coming up with something on your own.
Beautiful. And so we have mindset, principles, strategies, and then we have growth. And it's applying it in the moment. And then the growth is of this knowledge is infinite.
And then you just continue to repeat the process because challenges in life, obstacles that you face are never ending. But now you've essentially created this tool for yourself where you're able to reframe a challenge and the challenge becomes an opportunity. A problem becomes an opportunity
$100%.
as opposed to something that's limiting.
Yep. 100%.
So that's what we wanted to cover today is this really valuable tool. So go onto the website. You can download that tool for free. Again, like I said in the beginning, we're going to be using this tool to frame the different topics that we'll be discussing. We're going to start with just some of the obstacles we see financially in people's lives, and we're going to be using this framework to unpack them, to organize them. So you're going to gain some value there. At the same time, you can use this tool to get through just some of the challenge you're facing, which may not be based on the topics that we're going to be covering in the coming episodes.
And my favorite part of all of this, Patrick, is extracting the lesson. The pain that I felt in losing all of that money at the end of '07, almost taking my life over money, and my commitment to understanding what happened, why it was relevant, the lessons from that, and applying it in my own life. And I made a commitment in my life at that time to extract the lessons, to apply them in my life, and to share them with as many people as I possibly could. And I did that, and I'll continue to do that. And it's super exciting. We didn't have the Infinity Wealth tool when we first came together and wanted to start creating something, but as a result of coming together and starting to create, this happened. This came about as a result of us, and it's a tool that you and I will be able to use in our individual lives. We're excited for each one of you to use it in your life now, to take anything that has happened in your life, whether it's personal, professional, family, business, whatever, and use this tool to identify what happened, why it was relevant, the lesson, how you can apply it in your life. Go a little bit further with that to identify the mindset, the principles, the strategies, and then continue to grow. Super exciting.
So this tool we're going to be using with the topic of cash flow. So we're going to talk about cash flow on the next episode. So again, make sure you go and download the Infinity Wealth tool from wealthuntethered.com. And we'll see you on the next episode.